Good afternoon once again. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to our webinar. So today we are going to be talking about a topic that is very interesting, and I will say topical because every business person will want to make more money. And today we are going to be discussing a topic that affects a lot of us and how we can maximize our income. So once again, I welcome us to the webinar organized by the fundraising committee of the Nigerian Bar Association Women Forum. And today's topic is maximizing revenue streams. And we are going to be looking at various ways we can maximize our revenue streams. And we have very distinguished guests who will be talking to us, handling the topic today. But before I go on to introduce them, I would call on the chairperson of the Nigerian Bar Association Women Forum, Mrs. Chinyere Okorocha, to give her opening remarks. And I've introduced myself earlier on, but for those who are just joining, my name is Ifeoma Ben. I'm the head of the fundraising committee of the Nigerian Bar Association Women Forum. So I'll call on our chairperson, Mrs. Okorocha, to give us her opening remarks. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ifeoma. Good afternoon, everybody, and how are you doing? I'm so delighted to welcome you to this really interesting topic today, which is maximizing revenue streams. And obviously, everybody wants to see how they can maximize their revenue streams. And also financial planning and wealth management for legal professionals. I think this is a well-chosen topic because in the world today, we do find that lawyers may not be the best people at financial planning. And, you know, is to widen our knowledge base in terms of how we deal with our finances and how we can ensure a financial stable future for ourselves and our families. I'd just like to give you a little bit of information about who the NBA Women Forum are. And we're basically, because I believe we have people here today who may not be members of the association. And so just to mention that we are an arm of the Nigerian Bar Association, and we were set up specifically to take care of the needs of the Nigerian female lawyer. And how do we do this? And then our slogan is to empower the Nigerian female lawyer for success. And how do we do that? We do that through training programs, just like the one we're having today, webinars, workshops, where we talk about career development, career growth, personal development, professional development, and advocacy efforts. Obviously, as lawyers, we do that as well. And that's why this topic is really, really important, because finance forms a huge part of our existence, even as female lawyers. When you talk about your career, finance will also play a huge role in whether or not you decide to go a certain route in your career, whether you're in academia, whether you're an in-house counsel, whether you're in active legal practice, whether you are in the public sector. And these are the areas of the law where our members are drawn from. So we were set up, re-inaugurated in 2019. And since then, we've had various programs across the country. The MBA Women Forum has a representation in the 36 states of the country, including the FCT, by what we call a state lead. So we have a representative there. And then the MBA is structured around branches. So each state has a couple of MBA branches. And at the moment, the MBA Women Forum has a representative in each of the 125 branches of the MBA, which is really huge because we felt it was very important that the activities and programs we run, that they reach the grassroots level. We have an executive committee, we have a governing council, and we also are structured around committees. So as you can see today, the committee that is organizing this event is the fundraising committee. And I guess finance and fundraising, thus the topic we're dealing with today, which is based on finance. Now, it's very important to make a distinction between the Nigeria Bar Association Women Forum and another huge association in Nigeria comprised of female lawyers, who is the FIDA. Now, FIDA Nigeria is an international body with a Nigerian branch that has been in the Nigerian, has a Nigerian branch for many years. And so they're well ingrained into the fabric of the society in Nigeria. And how they are different from the Women's Forum is that they focus primarily on helping and assisting disadvantaged women and children. Whereas the Women's Forum, we primarily focus on the Nigerian female lawyer and career advancement. So the mandates are completely different, and many members of the Women's Forum are members of FIDA and vice versa. So I always like to make that distinction because I have been asked time and time again what the difference is and whether we are in competing associations. And I just want to point out again that there is no competition. We are sister bodies. We attend each other's events, and it's all good. So once again, I want to welcome you all to this interesting conversation that we're going to have today. I also want to thank the speakers that we have here today, particularly our keynote speaker. I'm just checking to make sure I don't make a mistake. Yes, so we have two speakers today. Mrs. Abiodun Olubiton, who is the group head of the women banking team in Access Bank. Thank you so much for being here today. And I also want to thank Mr. Olamide Obajimi, who is a partner at the distinguished firm of Olaniwu Ajayi. I want to thank you most profusely for your time today to be with us and to impart knowledge with us today. I'm sure at the end of the day, we're all, each of us, going to go away with, tidbits, knowledge that we can implement immediately. I'm very excited about the topic. I definitely want to increase my financial streams. I also want to learn how to do better financial planning. Even as a lawyer, we're going to indeed look at different ways we can increase our income, alternative fee arrangements, cross-selling, expanding into new practice areas. So it's all about making more money. And I'm sure everybody wants to make more money. Onyinyechi Elizabeth. Onyinyechi Elizabeth, just to point out that you are on camera, so you might want to be a bit careful about your movements and what you're doing there. So once again, thank you, everybody. And then back to you, Ifeoma.
Thank you, my amiable chairperson. Thank you, everyone. And the chairperson has already highlighted the the areas we're going to be talking about today. So basically about various avenues for increasing income as a lawyer. So I would now go ahead to introduce the speakers just to let us know a bit more about them. So I'll just read a little from their profile so we know how distinguished and our guests are and how privileged we are to have them. So our key presenter, our keynote speaker, Mrs. Abiodun Olubiton, who is the group head, W Initiative of Access Bank PLC. She heads the W Initiative at Access Bank with responsibilities for women banking across Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa. And she's responsible for understanding Africa's gender landscape and women's needs, building sustainable strategies for women's economic empowerment, and implementing this financial and lifestyle focused initiative in line with best practice. So she has so far contributed to millions of women being financially included by Access Bank and ensured growth for thousands of women-empowered businesses through opportunities for financing, capacity building, and accessing new markets. Under her leadership on the gender desk, the bank has won several awards, both locally and internationally. We are most privileged to have her today to give us a presentation on the topic. We also have a distinguished lawyer, and you know that lawyers most times we run away from things about finance, but here's a lawyer who has also distinguished himself in a specialized area in law that also has to do with issues about finance. We have Olamide Obajimi, who is a partner leading the tax practice group of Olaniwa Ajayi LP. He has wide experience in corporate business structuring, general tax compliance, tax and other regulatory advisory, financial reporting advisory, tax planning and implementation, tax litigation, cross-border tax structuring, advisory and implementation, international tax and transfer pricing advisory and implementation. So we are most privileged to have them. We are most grateful for honoring our invitation, and thank you so much for giving us your time. So I will now invite our keynote speaker, so Mrs. Abiodun Olubiton. So now make our presentation. You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Maybe good morning. Let me say good day, because I'm sure that we have a lot of our women from across the world listening and joining this webinar. First of all, I want to thank you very much. A big thank you to the female lawyers. Let me put it that way. Someone asked me this morning about this, and I said I'm actually going to be speaking to my learned colleagues, because if they are already learned, what do you want to go and teach them now? So thank you very much for the opportunity to be addressing the MBA Women Forum today. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I do not take it for granted at all. And thank you, Ifeoma, for the warm reception. Thank you very much. As much as I can, I want to ensure, you know, when I got the topic, I'm like, wow, are you sure it's actually something that we're supposed to actually discuss in some few minutes? But as much as I can, I will try to, you know, just make sure that we have a grasp of it. I would want you to take your writing pad and please take notes of some, you know, little tips that could help, because when we talk about finance, you know, it's something that we all have to keep learning as the world is changing on a daily basis. So I want to put that forward first of all, that how financial planning used to be has changed, and of course that actually is the reason why we also have to keep learning. So thank you once again, and I hope we can all hear me very loud and clear. Thank you very much. I would in between be trying to check that people are actually following. So maybe I will be asking us to do some few things in the chat room just to ensure that we are following. So I'll quickly go into my presentation. Okay, please, I want to host my presentation. Okay. Okay, please, can we confirm if we can see my slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm trying to put it on slideshow. Okay, fantastic. All right. Thank you very much once again for having me. So we are going to be talking about maximizing revenue streams, financial planning and wealth management for us within the legal space. And of course, I will just quickly use this outline to make sure that we are able to cover this very large topic. So we'll talk about what would actually be the objective of this at the end of it. What do we want to achieve by the time we are done after this webinar? How can we maximize the revenue streams as a lawyer, as a legal professional? How can we do that? Then what are the essentials for financial planning? Of course, some of us are getting to the advanced age and we'll be thinking of retiring, or we even want to take early retirement. What are those retirement and investment planning we need to put in place? And of course, the wealth that we are creating, because all of this work that we're doing, that's what it is for. How do we protect it? And then we quickly conclude. So, apologies, why is my slide? Okay, thank you. So, by way of introduction, I love to say that, Nigeria legal profession is characterized by variability in income. And what do I mean by that? It's not almost like a salary, a regular salary, a regular flow of income, because you do different things. There are times that there are a lot of women, a lot of income coming into your cash flow. And there are times that maybe things are just low. And I can imagine, I don't know, because I'm not a lawyer, but I can imagine maybe what could have probably be happening to us in terms of when we had COVID in 2020, or when we had EndSARS and everybody had to sit at home. We didn't have to go anywhere. We were just at home. I don't know, did you get clients coming to you at home to say, oh, please, I want to do this, or I want to go to the court? We're not even sitting. So I don't know how we survived during that period. And these are some of these are things that can happen again. We are not praying for another COVID. But for whatever reason, we are just trying to establish the fact that income within the legal profession might not be a regular thing, depending on the area that you find yourself, because legal profession is large. The legal services there are different types of them, and the nature of our clients will also differ. So because of this complexity, which involves this irregular income, unpredictable cash flow, and of course, we have to survive. We need to continue to maintain our personal and professional expenses. So there are these challenges, and these challenges has to then be prepared for, so that even when there are all of these instances, we are able to survive, not just because things happen, but because we are learned, we understand how to navigate these complexities. All right, so quickly, the objective of this what I put together is basically three. First of all, we will provide financial guidance. We'll provide financial guidance for ourselves. So what are the actionable financial planning and wealth management strategies that you can adopt as a legal professional? Then how can we bridge the gap between law and finance? I liked when I think it was the chairman chair lady that actually was saying that, oh, she's not a financial guru. I can tell you, maybe over time you will even realize that there are no financial gurus. Everybody keep evolving with market realities, and then you get it right, and then you begin to follow it. So how do we bridge that gap between the finance space and the law? How do you manage, equip yourself as a legal professional for that gap to make sure that it doesn't affect you? And then how can we promote financial literacy amongst professionals in the legal space? So first of all, I'll quickly go into the first aspect, which is maximizing revenue streams. So the first thing is that we have to expand into new practice areas. That's why I keep repeating that word, adapt to market realities, adapt to, you know, economic situation, environmental space. I'm sure a lot of lawyers have also, I don't know, but I'm sure that we also have lawyers that have left the shores of these countries and have jackpot, in quotes, how we normally hear it in the secular parlance. People have left country to go for greener pastures, you know, checked different things. A lot of people, thank you. Obiageli is responding to say a lot of them. And I have a lot of friends as well that have relocated for family reasons, economic empowerment, and all of that. So when you get there, is law practiced the same way it is done here in Nigeria? That's a new environment. And if you are not able to adapt, you see yourself really struggling. And even for us that are still here, the legal space is expanding. And there is a need for us to begin to expand along with those new practice areas. I'll give, for example, quickly, fintech regulation space is becoming a very, very, a market that is growing. Since the advent of financial technology, you know, that space just came up. It affected even the regular financial system. And, you know, over time, it became a space which has to be regulated. This afternoon, I think I even saw an email of some court pronouncements freezing some of these fintech accounts. These are actions that are probably not even envisaged before fintech came into the boom. But now there is fintech. What are we doing as lawyers? They have to be regulated. These are areas that we need to begin to learn and tap into that growing market. Oil and gas law has remained very crucial in Nigeria because the oil is something that we have had forever and is there. People say, oh, it will dry up over time, but I don't know how soon that would happen. That's an area that is also very interesting. Lawyers are making a lot of money, you know, drafting agreements, representing their clients within that space. Data privacy law is another one, is a major emerging field, data privacy law. And I'm sure that you even understand all of this space more. So I wouldn't even want to overstretch it. But when you're an expertise, for instance, in data protection regulation under the Nigeria Data Protection NDPR, you attract clients that are needing compliance in that space. And so I can't even say all of those things. These are just things that I saw quickly that legal professionals are grabbing and quickly trying to find their footing in. And of course, the earlier we also expand along with those new practices, the earlier we align with the inflow, with the cash flow that is available within that space. Government has been consistent, at least maybe prior to 1960, when we gained independence, we've had government till now, both public sector and of course the private sector government practices. But public sector and government has been there. They would not go away. How are we taking opportunities within that space to probably be an advisor to government agencies, you know, trying to represent and bring out contracts within that space? And of course, a good understanding of our Public Procurement Act can open doors, you know, significantly to lucrative government contracts. So I'm just trying to, bring some of these things to the fresh of mind, because we might just be doing the regular law that we have decided to be practicing since we left law school or something. But there might be need to begin to think outside of the box and begin to see what is going on in our environment and take advantage of it. So we have to also develop alternative revenue sources. This is actually very closely with adaptation to the expanding space within the legal profession. But how do you do that? How do you develop those alternative revenue sources? Training and capacity building is paramount. We have to learn. Sorry, are you still seeing my slides?
Yes.
Okay, you can still see my slides.
Yes, miss.
Oh, great. Thank you. So, how often do we try to even empower ourselves with skills, with learning skills that we can use, right? So, training professionals within that space, we also must learn it. We must collaborate. We must look at who are the thought leaders within the legal profession. Training alone is something that is huge. It's not going to ever finish. And people are bringing different dimensions into training. You can actually even adopt a segment that you want to so master and begin to consult and teach within that space. We have SMEs today who are the emerging economy. They have said, we have actually learned that the future is SME. Today, SMEs are contributing over 60% of the GDP. So if we are not even aligning with anything, those are people that we should align with. And there is a lot of opportunity for capacity building there. Some of them do not understand taxation. They don't know how to, put their business into it, to have a corporate structure put together. We could just look at a niche within that space, collaborate with maybe schools or organizations that cater to them, even banks, and begin to provide training and capacity building sessions. And of course, we make money. Another area we should develop for alternative revenue resources is legal tech solutions. I went for a program not too long ago, and I met a young lady who is actually developing, I don't know if it's a website or an app, where legal professionals are like all on that platform in different types of things that they do. And so if you want to access any one of them, she would have like accredited them, and she will onboard them. So I need to notarize a document. I'm not beginning to think, where should I go? Oh, we're in Broad Street, or calling people. Just go onto that platform. You would see their names, you will see their locations, and you can quickly go to them. So she makes a commission of every sale that she refers to that app. And of course, the usage of the app as well. These are solutions that are technologically driven. And of course, we know that there's still a lot of gap within the digital space in Nigeria today. We can monetize all of those opportunities and see how we can begin. But trust me, especially for us women, I know that we are very advanced to technology. We like it written in the very hard copy form, or in the very, what do they call it? The traditional way. But tech is the new oil. We have to begin to develop ourselves technologically. We need to learn it. If you go to Google and just check what is happening in the legal tech space, you'll be amazed. And you will see a lot of ideas. And trust me, Nigeria is still very far from what is happening in other countries of the world, especially the civilized part of the world. So you will see opportunities, you will see things you can even replicate. You don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel. And of course, corporate advisory services. We have to be able to position ourselves as a trusted advisor to SMEs, for instance, and corporate bodies, and helping them to navigate through the regulatory landscape. Retainers are there. Retainer services are ongoing. Several organizations engage the services of legal professionals as retainers. You know, tech startup is there. They need regulatory compliance. They need to understand it. And these are, you know, retainer is a recurring revenue source. You don't even have to jump up and down. Sometimes they don't even need your services at all. But because it's a retainer kind of thing, you are obviously going to be able to, you know, take on that responsibility and run it. So these are some of the ways that we can develop alternative revenue sources. So quickly, I will go to how we can enhance client relationship. You know, customer service today has gone beyond, oh, I'm good at what I do. The service must be, it must be attractive. It must make your clients want to come back. We have to ensure, you know, you can't have one relationship that does not have the capacity to refer another one to you. Over the time, you will mind that relationship, exhaust it, and then you are looking for fresh clients all over the place. So these are some of the things that we need to learn. We have to enhance our client relationship. Somebody told me that lawyers don't talk a lot, but I don't know. I said the lawyers that I know, they actually talk because their job is actually to talk. But if you find yourself in that space, what do you do with the network that you have? So we must leverage professional network. What we are doing today is actually very commendable, you know, because if you ask me, how many, I'm sure that our members are probably far more than the number of people on the network right now. But we are taking the pain to come. We are networking. I'm seeing names that are sticking in my brain. And I'm sure that if I see it again, I'm like, I've seen this name before. We don't know how we can, you know, help each other. Nigeria Bar Association, I'm sure that by regulation, we are all members. International Bar Association, we are there. But how are we making use of that network? Are we participating actively, or you are just there by the fact that, well, it is statutory that I pay my dues and I'm a member? All these people, I don't like women issues. I don't want women stress. I don't want to be there. No, we have to be able to network, leverage on each other's strength, and continue to move on. They said networking can lead to valuable client referrals and collaborative projects. And right now, what we hear is that collaboration is the new oil. You have to collaborate. It's a buzzword right now, collaboration. But how much are we doing it? Even especially as women, are we just sitting back and allowing the men to take on all of these things? Men, they only need to meet themselves once, and that's it. But we women will still build that barrier around ourselves. Client education and engagement. Of course, we need to be able to provide additional services to our clients so that they actually feel that they are valued and they are getting value even for what they're paying us. So as a legal entity now, as a legal firm, do you put together maybe some small tips that you send to your clients every month, or you get updates, something newly happening within the industry, and you're enlightening them, you're telling them this is the new, this is what this law is saying, this is the interpretation, you're doing newsletters to send to them? They will feel very valued, and trust me, they won't go elsewhere. They will stick with us. And of course, we have to build trust and reputation. When they give us jobs to do, we stay by the terms of what it is. We don't begin, you know, someone tells me that is the best lawyer that wins. It doesn't mean that it is the law. And sometimes they argue it because they feel that it is how well you can, you know, build your case around a situation that makes either a lawyer lose or win. So, but in our own case, yes, are we going to argue the law against our clients just because we want to make more money? Or we were going to stay by trust and integrity and maintain a reputation so that the client knows that I have this, my lawyer, I am going to sleep. He or she will take care of whatever it is. And that actually builds long-term trust and enhance patronage. So I'll run through financial planning essentials. Sorry, ma'am. Okay, please let's mute so that we don't cause distraction. Apologies, I actually thought somebody was making a comment. Yeah, so financial planning is crucial for legal professionals. And of course, this is what is going to ensure that come rain, come shine, we are taking care of ourselves, we are supporting our career growth, we are safeguarding our future and that of our family. Yeah. So what are these essential financial planning elements for lawyers specifically? Because, we've established that our cash flow might not just be irregular on the 22nd, on the 25th, this is dropping, except for maybe retainers where you know that either way, something is dropping. But how many of us have even these retainers? And how much of these retainers can even support our livelihood? So we must understand it. When there is a lot, what do we do? And when there is so little, how do we manage? How do we survive? The first thing is that we must understand that our legal practice is an entity in itself. The lawyer's personal finances with the law firm's finances are different, and we have to scale a balance. We must ensure that we separate it. Because I am a lawyer and then I have client accounts, and clients probably, I won a case and money comes into it, and I'm not able to separate that this is not my money, or because it's my legal firm's account, that's where they paid into. And I think, okay, I have free access into it. I can actually, begin to write checks. No, I've managed some lawyers when I was in sales, and I see how they map out clear accounts separating the legal entity of the law firm from their personal expenses. They have client accounts for almost every big client separate, so that it's not mixed up. They also ensure that they more like pay themselves salary from all of this, and they invest very well. So you don't mix it up. Not because, yes, you have so much in your account, you can dip your hands into it to spend on personal expenses. No, you have to separate it. They are separate, and it has to be maintained as such. Then we have to be able to budget and manage our cash flow. Maintaining a budget helps to make informed financial decisions. And of course, you will avoid financial stress because you'll be able to track your income and your expenses. You'll be able to identify a spending pattern. Now, everywhere you go, people say, no, there is a September is coming, we are paying school fees. So everybody is just talking about school fees and school fees. September is almost a sacrosanct month where expenses, especially for people that have children in school, is the time we must spend money. In fact, from July, because by the time they are back from holidays, trust me, it is either one thing or the other, you keep spending. So how do we manage? How do we budget for those times? I have a lawyer that actually maintains a target savings account for his children, for our children's school fees. So every month from retainer and all of those income that comes, she puts something aside towards September because he knows school fees is coming. Some of them plan towards renewal of the personal, maybe rentals, accommodation and stuff like that. But if we do not plan and you just assume, oh, this will come, and it doesn't come, we are going to find ourselves in financial stress. So when we are able to track our income and our expenses, we can establish a pattern. Based on that, you will draw out how you want to put your budget and plan. And of course, you will follow it. Discipline to follow it is actually very, very important. Of course, we have different budgeting tools and software. I'll show you some of them much later. Then for strategies for managing irregular income streams, which you have established that except you are a salaried lawyer where on the 25th something drops into your account every month, you must be able to foresee those irregular cash flow and prepare for them. You must manage income variability, so even when you are creating that budget, you must be flexible with it. You don't say that, okay, I'm going to spend 20,000 on transportation this month, and you
Please unmute yourself. Unmute, please. Miss Olabito,
Apologies.
I
Can
think
you hear me now?
Yes, we lost you for a minute. I think you
Can you
mistakenly
still hear me?
muted. We can hear you now. Maybe if you can
For
just
a
Yes,
repeat
we
that
can hear you,
sentence,
ma.
please.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I think it was a connection, but I think I'm back now.
Yes, yes.
All right, thank you very much. So let me quickly run through the last few slides. So we must optimize our office expenses, negotiate better lease terms, adopt shared services. That is actually something that is really very common now. I don't want to say, okay, because I've taken this flat, then I must use everywhere. Then there will be wasted spaces. No, we are lawyers. We must be able to manage every space within that law firm comes at a cost. And if you notice in some situation, which you would have seen, people then rent spaces on per square meter. So you can actually, dimension your entire space and say, okay, this is the entire space is 100 square meters and we are paying 100 million naira for this space every year. That means each square meter comes at ₦1 million. Then you arrange yourself properly. The space that you are not using, you rent it out. And of course, that is additional, cost saving because it's not income you're paying anyway. It's just cost savings to you. So, and even in terms of our documentation, lawyers have a lot of huge documents they have to save and keep files. That's part of how to go digital. We have to find a way to be able to safeguard it. If there is fire and all the files gets burnt, what do we refer to for a client? So there's now client utilizing the cloud to save some of those documents for like as long as we could ever need it. So it's there. How are we managing those? Those are best practices. And that is why we shouldn't enter a lawyer's office in this age and time. And then the whole place is filled up with paper everywhere, So that is also very critical. Then we must build an emergency fund that covers at least 6 to 12 months of living and business expenses at every point in time. When I talk to younger proteges in the bank, I tell them, if they ask you to go today, do you have liquid fund? I'm not saying any liquid funds that you can sustain yourself with at least for the next 3 months. You don't say, I earn so little. No, you must make that provision. You must have a small downtime. And then you're telling everyone, I don't have job. Please, you can. You've been working since now. What have you been doing? We must be able to keep at least liquid, apart from investment, something to sustain our regular lifestyle. 6 to 12 months aside, we can put it in some very simple savings account, but liquid cash. All right. So, sorry.
I don't know if you still wish to share your slide, ma'am, because
okay.
we lost.
I was trying to move my slides. Yeah. So these are some of the tools and software for financial management. We have the cloud-based software. It's very accessible. We can check it out. We have practice management software. My case is a typical one. That's what they call it. If you Google it, you will find it. It can be used for cloud-based software where you can, save a lot of files for your clients. Financial planning software is also there. Personal Capital is very good. If you Google it, you would find it. And of course, the accounting softwares we can also use to be able to, keep our books to say, okay, I have this much expenses, I have this income, these are the regular ones, and, all of those things. So these are just softwares and tools that we can use for financial management. And for us, I mentioned at the beginning, some of us are already maybe getting to retirement and investment age, retirement age. What are we planning to do? Or are we hoping that, okay, after that, some miracles will be happening? And that's because, people don't retire these days or do not want to retire because sometimes, not all the cases, but sometimes they have not prepared for that time. And when you see people that retire early, enjoying their life, seriously, you will wonder, how did they do it? It's planning. And so this topic is actually very crucial for all of us. We must plan for that time when we can't run up and down, go from north to south, east to west, travel all over just to make our clients happy and all of that. What are we going to do then? Pension is something that is very critical, but a lot of us, we haven't embraced it. For law firms, I know that, yes, we do it maybe for our employees, maybe because of regulation, we ensure that there is a pension scheme for them where there is contributory, the employees, certain percentage, the employer percentage, and they put it aside with different pension houses, but we must ensure regular contribution and monitor that pension statement. In fact, for a long time, I didn't used to bother myself, even though I was in the financial industry. I didn't believe, I thought this money, it won't be there when we want to retire. So let me stop bothering myself. But as time goes on, I found out that, we need to begin to demand for accountability for these things. And then I begin to say, okay, yes, what is happening to my pension? Okay, I want you to invest it like this. Okay, my pension managers, they would ask me, okay, they send to me as my employer make deductions every month. I know my balance in that pension scheme every month. I can have access to my statement. If you even want to go for interviews and you need to show financial capability or something, you can request for your pension statement and use it to support whatever it is you want to do. But don't leave it because maybe it doesn't, how much is it? No, it's part of your retirement plan. So make sure that the contributions are regular and monitor it. Have access to it and be checking what is it. In fact, that will even be giving you an idea of what it will be like, what you want to do with it. And of course, you can also advise your pension managers how aggressive they should be with investing your pension, because if they do it when you are younger, yes, you might have a very large risk appetite. But when you are approaching that age of retirement, you're probably saying, you know what, just quietly be keeping it so that at least this thing is sure and guaranteed and all of that. Then supplementing pension and investment. Apart from this pension, savings and investment, ourselves, what are we doing? We can do fixed deposits. There are different types of savings now. In Access Bank, there's what we call high interest deposit account. As low as 50,000 naira, you can open that account and you get interest on it every month. If it's the only thing, because we want to actually encourage you to maintain it as a savings account, there is a little window of the number of times that you can withdraw. But of course, they allow you to make withdrawal, but the interest is as high as 12.5% now, depending on the balance that you maintain. And every month you see the interest drop into the account. So these are type of savings that you can keep. We can also go into long-term, investment like real estate. As women of MBA, we can come together and say, you know what, real estate is a very good investment opportunity. Okay, I don't have so much, but I can put 20 million down. This other person says I can put 20 million down. 10 of us put together 200 million. We buy a property and we lease it out, and we are getting rental every month, outside of the fact that the real estate itself is appreciating. So, and of course, you are lawyers. If it will be with a perfected documentation and all of those, proper title. So these are things that we can also do. And that's why I said collaboration is also very key. So we can come together, put together this big investment, because the power of negotiation will be there as a body, real estate, stocks, and all of that. And of course, we have to explore investment opportunities in the Nigeria stock markets. Right now, a lot of banks are out there selling shares. Access Bank shares is actually meant to close today, rights issues, but we've extended by a week. Have you invested in it? These are instruments that you will just sit down and you will see the dividend dropping. You'll be surprised. And trust me, every time that thing happens, I'll just be like, I have shares that I bought at 1 naira 13 kobo. As at today, this rights issues that is even being sold at 19 naira 75 kobo, it's already a discounted figure. That amount, that price is going to go up. In fact, I can say to you confidently that maybe it will be settling in the range of 24, 25 naira within the next 1 year. That's already a 10 naira acquisition. Put it together, put something in it. get a stockbroker that will be managing that investment portfolio for you. There is also government bonds that will be yielding you interest. There is the treasury bills. Just look for all the various opportunities that are there, but make sure that you do not, hit everything that comes. Plan for that time when retirement is going to happen. And of course, wealth protection. We are building this wealth, but are we protecting it? Are we doing anything to ensure that it is secured? Insurance coverage is very critical. In Nigeria today, insurance has not been, people have not embraced insurance, but it is a very critical thing to protect wealth. A lot of us that are in Lagos, I'm sure we still remember what happened during EndSARS. Several businesses in Lagos lost their businesses, and some women are not able to get back till today because there was no insurance covering whatever it is that they had put together. And who do they want to go and hold? Which protester did they see to say, oh, you are the person that's, oh, no, it's gone. So, but when there is insurance in place, you have created, you have covered, you have mitigated that risk of uncertainty. There is health insurance, there's life insurance, there's professional liability insurance. There are different types of them. And we need to be able to pick up one, even for medical emergencies. All of us are still, a lot of us, let me not say all of us, I try not to say that. We are still in that, God forbid, it is not my portion. It's nobody's portion, but whose portion it is? So we have to have insurance for all of these risks to be able to mitigate them. We are professionals and we should act as such. Probate matters. We can say, okay, we are women. It's my husband that will will to me. Who told us that is the man that will die before us? Who told us? Where is the calendar? But even us, we know so much, but sometimes we don't take that step to do the right thing. We have to prepare with trust, power of attorney to ensure that there is no commotion. We are prepared for all of these things, and it's just good so that everything is just well planned, everything. Yes, there's a God factor, but the one that is within our own comfort, we should ensure that we do it. And of course, asset protection. Like we have mentioned that, you can separate your legal entity. So you can have different SPVs to secure assets through trust to protect personal and business assets from legal risk. And of course, when you form SPV, you shield your personal assets from business liabilities. So in conclusion, I would want to say that the path to financial success for Nigerian legal professional involves a combination of strategic revenue enhancement and effective financial planning, as well as prudent wealth management. And I emphasize prudent wealth management. By applying these strategies and all of these things that we have discussed, we have to remain proactive in that financial approach that we are taking to achieve our greater financial security and success within the legal career. So I'll leave us with this. Let's embrace the opportunities for growth. Let's take the steps that are necessary to build a financially secured future. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please, let's show some love. Let's show some love. Let's show some hearts, right? And some claps in the chat box. It's really, 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 really amazing. Amazing. In fact, if we had more time, in fact, it would have continued, but within that short time, please, let's appreciate our speaker. Let's appreciate our speaker. She's done a lot. In fact, I was taking notes and she has said a whole lot. Like she said, if you look at the topic, it has various branches. But she has said a lot, starting from how you can expand into new practice areas. She also mentioned alternative revenue sources, talking about training and capacity building, legal tech solutions, corporate advisory services. She went ahead to also tell us how we can enhance client relationships, leveraging professional networks, client education and engagement, building trust and reputation. And she still went further to tell us about financial planning. And she stressed the need to differentiate, to separate our personal income from the firm's income. A lot of us, some persons make that mistake, even if you are into sole proprietorship. the firm's account should be different from your personal account. You can pay yourself salary and do your expenses from your personal account. She emphasized that, and she told us the need to budget and manage our cash flow. You know, she has covered a lot of ground that I cannot really start recounting. So we are very grateful to you, Madam, for taking out time. She's a very busy person, the head of women banking in Access Bank, the group head. So for honoring our invitation and coming here to share value with us, we are most grateful. And now, having shared from the finance perspective as a finance expert, we'll also want to hear from a lawyer like us who also has experience in finance, Mr. Obajimi, who is a partner at Olayiwa Ajayi LP. He'll be taking us through answering some of our key questions. And before we come back to Mrs. Olubiton, you can also put questions on the chat box. I'll come back to that later after Mr. Obajimi has spoken. So he'll be speaking to some key questions as it relates to the legal profession, as the topic relates to us specifically. So Mr. Lamide Obajimi, you are welcome. Can you hear me, Mr. Obajimi?
Yeah, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Okay, good afternoon. And I'll just be asking you some of the key questions, and you can just throw some light. So now, as a lawyer, I'll just be asking, what strategies have you found? And as a partner in a top law firm, so we also want you to share some practical experiences or certain things that operate in your firm that we can also learn from, or from your own experience as well. So what strategies have you found most effective in maximizing revenue streams within your practice, and how can other legal professionals implement these strategies in their own firms?
So good afternoon, everyone, and it's really a pleasure to be here. I believe you can hear me.
Yes, very loud and clear.
Okay, great. So in terms of, thank you, Mrs. Abiodun, for the very insightful presentation on financial planning. And I think it's one area that lawyers are not very vast in. We just live our lives as it is, and we believe that, just keep doing the work, more money will come, more will come. So it's important that as lawyers, we learn, the implement of financial planning and how to plan ourselves better, how to plan our firm better. And if you are lawyers who want succession plan for our firm, how to ensure that that succession plan is in place during our lifetime. So in terms of strategy that I found most effective in maximizing our revenue stream, I think the first thing as lawyers, we must be able to retain our clients. So before we start thinking of how to get the next client, how far have we done with the current client that we have? And for you to retain your current client, you must have done well with our clients in terms of service provision, in terms of support to the client, in terms of quality service, in terms of timely service. And it is when you are able to do all these for an existing client, then you can now start thinking of how to get more clients. So for example, your client should be able to not make a decision unless they contact you. So it means that in the course of your professional service with that firm, you have been able to become a support system to your client's business. And you will see that before they even take family decision, they will need to call you to get one or two advice from you. Now, client retention will now lead us to referral. If your client is satisfied with whatever work you are doing for that client, then definitely that client, will give you more referrals. And with those referrals, they become your client. I have clients that I got through referrals, and those clients became even closer to me than the client that introduced them to me. So it is a function of how you deal with your existing client, and it's also a function of how you deal with the referrals that you get from those existing clients. So that's one area that I think is important and strategic as lawyers, and it's the low-hanging fruit, and it's something we should be able to do. And well, maybe when we get to other conversations around retaining clients and maintaining our revenue stream, we'll talk more on that. But it's also important that we diversify our practice. I know it is core and important for us to have one core area of practice that you are known for in the market, that you're a subject expert, that wherever they mention your name, or wherever they mention an area of law, your name strikes whoever is mentioning the area of law. But notwithstanding,
I think that would take me to the next question. I think I would just ask the question so that you can, now since you're already speaking towards that line. So how can lawyers effectively cross-sell services and expand into new practice areas without diluting their core expertise or overwhelming their resources?
Okay, so I think the questions are kind of linked together. So I was talking about diversification. So we're looking at cross-selling. So I think the step is cross-sell first, then move into new practice area. And like I said earlier, it's good to be an expert in one field. And in the course of revenue or income diversification or practice diversification, you may want to cross-sell. And what I mean by cross-sell is to see what areas in which you can sell to other firms that are not core in that area. So economists they will call it area of comparative advantage, right? But it's also important that when you are cross-selling and you are rendering service to other law firms or other practitioners like you that are not vast in your area, you must, in the course of doing that, try to learn one or two things from their own practice. And in the course of cross-selling, you tend to develop new skills, and you don't end up there. And one thing again is to engage in continuing education. Like Mrs. Abiodun mentioned, there are areas of law that are fast growing now. The practitioners within those spaces are not too much. So it may be important for us as practitioners to quickly key into those areas like fintech, ESG, and there's a new trend that it's coming up in Nigeria currently, which is in the area of carbon trading, carbon credit, and the like. So one, it is important for lawyers to ensure continuing education, because as lawyers, what we sell is our knowledge. And for you to remain relevant in whatever field or area, even where it is your core area, you must continue to learn. And in the course of cross-selling, you pick up new skills, you train yourself, then you can now gradually phase into a new practice. So for example, a lawyer that is into finance, or you're a finance lawyer, it's easy for you to cross into fintech because the underlying principle of the core finance and what happens in financial technologies are almost the same. So it's easy for you to move into fintech. For example, a lawyer that is vast in dispute resolution may easily move into arbitration. For example, a commercial lawyer may decide to identify tax as an area in which you intend to develop new skills. You may want to also move into taxation too. So I think that is one area, training. Also active participation in professional association, like where we are now. And I think Mrs. Abiodun also mentioned that there are names you will see here that you will see tomorrow and it will strike you that, oh, I think we both attended the MBA Women program. And that partnership is actually very important. Being in amongst colleagues of like minds, among professionals that are also in your trade or professionals in other trades that you come together. For example, I always use taxation because that's my area. CITN, for example, they are lawyers, they are accountants, they are tax practitioners in that association. So as lawyers, when you belong to associations like that, you can easily cross-sell you see an accountant that will definitely require the service of lawyers, and you will see lawyers also requiring the services of those accountants. Like, so for example, myself, I happen to be an accountant, and in the course of my work, some accounting work will come, which I can do. But when I look at it from the place of comparative advantage and the time, it might be cheaper for me to outsource that service to an accounting firm that is their own area of specialization. Also for accountants, some may decide, you know what, let's employ a lawyer. It may not be profitable for them to employ lawyers because they need to pay salaries, they need to ensure they are compliant with other regulatory implications for having an employee. They may say, you know what, let me talk to AB and Co. They are lawyers. Anytime I have legal issues, we can collaborate together and I can outsource part of these functions to them. And we see that happen every day. And it's important that lawyers in this space are also aware that those kind of activities or those kind of activities occur in professional practice, and it is something that we should embrace as lawyers. I know someone may also want to act that, oh no, the rule of professional conduct as lawyers, you don't share your profits with non-lawyers. But for me, I do not think that is sharing of profit. It is part of ensuring that you deliver quality service to your client. So as lawyers, in the course of your work, when you realize that, oh, there are some areas or core areas in which you may not have that expertise to do, then it is best that you outsource. I think I've talked about training, and I've also talked about that when you are moving into new area, you don't just move at once. You ensure that it is a phased expansion so that you don't, meet a brick wall.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that insight. So I'll quickly go to the next question. Now, this is going to be very practical, and I want you to please, I know you make a lot of money at Olaniwa Ajayi, so I want you to tell us how we can make the money like you, so I'm just joking. So I want you to share some practical examples. So could you share some examples of alternative fee arrangements that have proven successful in your experience? And how can lawyers structure these arrangements to benefit both their clients and the firm's bottom line? Then in trying to answer that as well, maybe you can also, I just want to ask two questions so I answer them together. So there are some financial risks that I wanted to share that are specific to running a law firm, and how do you mitigate this risk while ensuring sustainable growth and profitability? So tell us, first of all, how you've been making this money and what arrangements have all these alternative fee arrangements that you can share with us, that we can also leverage your experience and make more money like you. Then you tell us how we can.
Okay, so I'll start with the first question, which is on fee structuring. I know, I think the first thing to have at the back of your mind is to know the ability of your client to pay. There are some clients that are high-paying clients, maybe because of the areas in which they play. For example, the oil and gas clients. For example, maybe some banks, not all banks, big entities in the fintech space, and the likes. So these are high-paying clients. There are also individual clients that may not be high-paying. So you must first be able to identify which space in which your client falls into. And if you are talking about other fee arrangements, I think what is mostly common among lawyers is to say, oh, for me to represent you from beginning to conclusion of this matter, maybe I'm going to bill you 10 million, 5 million, 2 million, as the case may be. But we are looking at other alternative fee arrangements that may seem convenient to the client to pay and may also ensure constant flow of revenue and fee for that law firm, so that that firm will not find itself in a position whereby it's unable to meet its obligation as at when due. So one area for me, which I find very important, is to have retainer agreement or retainer fee, arrangements with your client. So with retainer fee arrangement, you could agree an annual fee basis with your client, and looking at the ability of the client to pay and also considering their cash flow. You could also say, you know what, I'm going to bill you, say 1.2 million as retainer fee, and I'll be billing you 100,000 every month. That may be convenient for that client. And some client may say, you know what, I don't want you to bother me with invoices. Can I pay half yearly or can I pay quarterly? So retainer fee arrangement is a way in which a law firm can be sure of fixed or assured revenue on an annual basis. While, outside the retainer fee, you can now go out to check for variable fees in terms of day-to-day instruction. But when you have a retainer, then you are sure of a certain fee. Then another area is also to look at value-based fee, or what we call face fees. So when we talk about value, and I will also always use the dispute guys as an example because that's common among us. It's a common denominator. Is to say, you know what, I'm agreeing a fee of say 5 million from institution to completion. However, upon my preparation of the court papers, you are going to pay, say, 20% of my fee or 30% of my fee, depending on the value you must have added to that face. And where maybe every month or every quarter or every other month, you'll be paying maybe 10% of the fee. You could also agree that upon judgment, you may pay me the balance of whatever fee we might have agreed. So you look at it from preparation of papers, you look at it from filing, you look at it from first appearance. You may also, if there are maybe interlocutory applications in between the matter, you may decide to, want to bill separately for that. But value-based fee or face fee is one area in which the client may find convenient, to pay. Another area which I see that some clients prefer is what we call hourly rate. So you may tell the client that I want to charge 2 million and they're like, what do you mean by 2 million? Can you give me your charge out rate, hourly rate? And they look at your hourly rate and they also have a gauge of the numbers of hours in which you may be spending on the work. And they may just tell you, you know what, I want you to bill me per hour. And there are some clients that will say, you know what, I know I want hourly billing, but I also want a cap fee, meaning that the number of hours that you shouldn't exceed is 50 hours. And if you exceed 50 hours, I'm not going to pay, meaning that there's a cap fee of 50 hours multiplied by your charge out rate or the charge out rate that you have disclosed to the client. And it's also important that when you are having alternative fee arrangement like this, you must have a clear and defined scope of deliverables at each phase of the transaction. And this scope must be understood by the client, because there are times as lawyers we think that, oh, in the course of our conversation or getting instruction with client, the client fully understands our fee arrangement. And these are some of the things that may cause disputes between lawyers and clients. So the scope of work must be well defined in an agreement, if possible, written down as you may want it. And the deliverables in that engagement must also be clear. And if the fees are going to be tied to deliverables, then you must be able to delineate those deliverables and allocate the respective fees that may have been agreed with the client, as the case may be. And we must also ensure that we set transparent fees, or fees that are predictable, fees that the client can reasonably align with. So it means that you don't just call a fee because you think, oh, this guy is rich I think it can pay. No. You must be able to be transparent with your fees, such that the client is able to relate to whatever fee that you are offering. And you must be able to, measure your goals and outcome in the course of having, conversations with your client. You must communicate regularly. And at times when you communicate with your client regularly, it's as if you're rendering a service. And by the time you send your next invoice, they won't complain. But when you become very quiet for a long time, and you think, oh, it's time for maybe second quarter invoice, or it's time for the biannual invoice, and the client has not heard for you in like 3 months, the client will just be looking at, why are these people always sending me invoice? But when you keep close tab with them, even when, for example, if it's the retainer, even when they do not have any pending issue or any issue that you need to attend to, you need to create that constant relationship with them, even if it's to inform them of a new development of law. Even if it doesn't relate with them, you just tell them to avert their mind to it in case they have business transaction with people in this space, Just try and be in the mind of your client so that by the time you send your invoice to the client will not see you as someone who only sent invoice when they are not due or when it's due. Another area is just to invest in technology in the course of dealing with your client. And if we do all this, it's sure that you're going to attract and retain your client, and it will lead to efficiency and enhance profitability. In the area of risk, financial risks that may be specific to law firms, I think the first thing that would come to me is revenue risk. Because if you are an organization like a law firm and you do not have the revenue to fulfill your day-to-day obligation, then it is really a risk for setting up that practice. And this risk is not just pertaining to lawyers. It's a risk that is associated with doing business. So another one which is also related to revenue, we'll keep talking about revenue, it's really important, is also called the account receivable or bad debt. So meaning that you render a service, you think the fees are due, and the client is not paying you. And it's very common that in the course of trying to impress our clients and doing the work, we forget to ensure that we send our invoices. So I think it's something that should be at the back of every lawyer, that sending your invoice is part of work delivery and satisfying your client. As you are doing the work, always remember to send your invoice and always remember to follow up with your payment. So account receivable risk is a big risk associated with law firms. So now dealing with the revenue, another risk is also associated with our professional practice. And that is the risk of giving a wrong advice, which we may call a contingent liability. And I heard Mrs. Abiodun that was talking about professional indemnity, insurance when she was doing her presentation, having her presentation. That is one of the ways in which you can mitigate against having this kind of contingent liability or risk as a professional legal practitioner. But like I said, because it is contingent, it's contingent upon you not doing your work well. It brings us to what we've discussed earlier about ensuring that as a lawyer, you are up to date with law, you are up to date with the economy, and you're up to date with whatever is happening around you. And that will also lead us to ensuring that you get trained, you get retrained, you are a member of a professional association, and you listen to the wisdom of other lawyers from time to time. Another risk, again, is cybersecurity and data breaches, meaning that our clients have very sensitive data with us. And as lawyers, it is important that we keep our clients' confidential information as safe as possible. And I think what will jump at us, was the Panama Papers some years ago, where about 11.6 million documents were leaked, which was associated with a law firm in Panama, Mossack Fonseca. And today, that law firm is no more. It used to be one of the biggest law firms in the world in terms of the kind of clients they deal with and the volume of their transaction. But because of data breaches, that law firm is no more. So we are in the time where technology is the order of the day in all areas of life. And as lawyers, we must pay attention to ensuring that we keep our clients' confidential information safe. Another area of risk is cash flow management. Because a lot of lawyers are either sole practitioner or they're into partnership with a friend and the likes. At times they get huge amount of money, maybe from a single client, maybe from a transaction. And the first thing that comes to their mind is how to impress those village elders that told them that they would never make it in life. And they buy, they invest in buying maybe big cars without thinking about the cash flow crisis that may occur or happen to their firm as a result of that huge financial outflow. So as lawyers, we must be able to manage our success in terms of when huge financial cash flow comes to the firm. It is not a time of extravagant spending. It's a time to sit back, look at the vision of your firm, and see how you want to progress that vision. And another one is compliance and regulatory risk. And we must also ensure that as lawyers, we do not, engage in activities that are unbecoming of lawyers or that would cause the disparage or negative vibe to whatever area of our practice and our professional. So I think that is that.
Yes, let me just ask you one final question. Let me just ask you one final question because we are trying to manage our time. So please, if you have questions, please put it in the chat box. After this question, we'll be looking into the chat box to see the questions from the earlier presentation and if you also have for Mr. Obajimi. So, we had a presentation earlier on where some of these issues have been touched on, but as lawyers and as someone who is a partner in a law firm, we want you to also share your perspective in that regard. And now I'm asking you, how do you approach budgeting and financial planning as your firm, particularly in terms of allocating resources for growth initiative and preparing for economic uncertainties?
Okay, so when you look at budgeting and financial planning, especially for every organization, not just law firms, but we are looking at law firms as the case may be now, is that budget and financial planning does not just sit in isolation. It must align with the strategic objective and vision of that firm. So in essence, what I'm trying to say is that before you even prepare your budget, you must first set clear goals and objectives. And you must align those goals and objectives with the strategic vision of your firm. So let me just cite an example. I'm going to cite an example with banks. Two banks, Access Bank, GT. Access Bank's vision, if you look at the vision of Access Bank, it says that it wants to be the most respected African bank. And if you look at the strategy of Access Bank, they are moving their branches and expanding across Africa. You can see that they've set a clear goals and objective is to go across Africa. And that means that in ensuring their financial plan, it must align with that strategic vision of expansion. You look at another bank like GT, and if you look at today, Access Bank, in terms of assets, is the biggest bank in Nigeria. Now, if you look at GT is saying, you know what, I want to enrich lives by building strong, valuable relationships with customers and stakeholders in every community I operate. And look at GT, as at the first quarter report, GT is the most profitable bank in Nigeria. You can see that their performance is aligning with the vision of the firm. So at a law firm, in budgeting, you must have a vision. And what's your vision? Do you want to be the big firm or do you want to be the profitable firm? We have a lot of big firms in Nigeria, and there are medium firms and there are small firms. Then you will see that there are some firms, we can start mentioning names, we know them, that are not very big in terms of size. But when it comes to revenue, they are one of the biggest firms in terms of revenue. So you must set your path and an objective before you now start ensuring that you have in place a budget. Now, what do you do in respect to budgets? You must be able to think through the financial analysis based on the vision in which you have for your firm. You look at your historical data. You look at industry trend with respect to those that are going to be playing in that area you want to play, and you look at your market conditions, right? And in doing all this, you must be able to identify your revenue stream, because when you are having a budget, it's important for you to know that for you to budget, that means you have revenue and you have expenditure. So you must even be able to identify your revenue stream before you now start talking about how you want to allocate, expenses towards this revenue stream, right? So when you are sure of your revenue stream, you must be able to ensure that whatever revenue stream that you must have budgeted for must be able to cater for your costs, whether fixed costs or variable costs or overhead. And it tells you that if you've done your budget and your cost is more than your revenue, that means that you are not breaking even. You'll have to then either tweak your costs to align it with your revenue so that you do not stay in a negative position, or you look at how you can ensure that you generate more revenue so as to take care of your costs. Now, when you now, get to the point of break even, then you can now start thinking about profit. And in terms of costs, it's important to note that some costs may be sunk costs, meaning that it's not really a function of your activity. So, for example, you pay rent, you pay for internet, you pay for IT facilities. Those costs are fixed costs and they are also sunk costs, meaning that either you generate any revenue or not, those costs are costs that you must incur as a firm in practice. And as such, you must ensure that as you are looking at those costs that are very germane and important to you, you must be able to ensure that the revenue stream is able to match those costs so that you don't fall in a negative situation. And again, it's important to understand your expense category and know which expenses are actually important in achieving your strategic objective and those ones that are not really important. So if there are expenses that are not important and you see that they are taking over the revenue in which you have, then you may want to, dispense with this expense head or category. Then again, you must be able to allocate resources to growth initiatives. It's not just about making money, paying salaries, and having a nice weekend. You must also be able to invest part of whatever revenue you make into training, conferences, and other areas of high potential returns, probably areas of law that you are not, at the moment practicing, and you'll be able to look at those areas of law to see that these areas of law are areas with potential, financial return in the future. You may want to allocate resources, to those development of those areas in the course of your budgeting. Then you must also have a fund for emergency, meaning that at the end of the year, if it's a partnership, you don't spend the whole profit in the year. I know in some advanced country, the way they practice their partnership is at the end of the year, they share everything. And the beginning of the new year, they start afresh. If they need to pay salary, they take loan. Before the end of the year, they pay the loan. At the end of the year, they share everything. But in an environment like Nigeria, that is not really something we do. And our environment may not align with such practice. So it's important to have a cash reserve for period of uncertainties, period in which, for example, now court has been on vacation in the last 1 month. Assuming it's a firm that is only litigation they are doing it, they've not been able to diversify. That means that within the last 1-2 months, they wouldn't be busy. And at that point, maybe they will just need to go back to whatever emergency fund they might have set aside to cater. And Mr. Abiodun talked about the period of COVID and SARS. These are periods in which you may want to go back to your emergency or reserve funds to ensure that you stay afloat as a legal practitioner. And I think we already talked about diversifying revenue. I talked about revenue as being a risk and a way in which you mitigate that risk. Then one key area about budget is to have a key performance indicator. So you may, in the course of the year, over budgeted. So by the mid-year, you realize that, my budget is an unattainable budget, either because I've over budgeted or I've under budgeted. In the event of over budget, mid-year may be the time to, tweak your budget a little bit to align with the realities at that time. And at times you may have under budget. Probably you have exceeded the expectations in your budget. It may just dawn on you at that point that maybe you have under budgeted and you may now increase your budget a little bit. But by the time you have this key performance indicator in your budget, they tell you whether at every point in time, the level of variance, and you will be able to really, take care of those variants before, it's too late. Because by the time it gets too late, that means that that year may have not been a profitable year because there were no key performance indicator that, were indicating to you in the course of the year that you are not on track. And again, in budgeting, it's also important to communicate with the stakeholders in the firm, which between the leadership of the firm and the employees, so that the employees will not see the firm as, for example, maybe they think you are not paying enough. They should be able to see that, this is our budget for the year. This is the revenue, and this is our revenue, and this is our profit after payment of revenue. So when employees are carried along with the budgetary activities of the firm, they tend to feel at home to say, our principal is not greedy, is carrying us, we know what is happening in the firm. We are also, and it gives them a sense of assurance that in the event that the firm prosper, then they will also prosper with the firm. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Obajimi. I think we'll wrap it up here now. Thank you so much. So I'll call on Iyabawa, the coordinator for fundraising committee of the NBA Women Forum, to check through the chats and let us know if you have questions for our speakers. I know our keynote speaker is still here, Mrs. Olubiton, and she'll be glad to take questions. I know she spoke about shares, and I saw one question relating to shares. Iya, please, over to you.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please
Yes.
take the questions.
Okay, thank you to all our esteemed speakers for sharing such an insightful perspective today. And as Mr. Olamide said, it is important for us to consistently keep learning. So now we'd like to open the floor for the question and also comments from our audience. Please feel free to still use the Q&A or chat function to share your questions. So the first question I have here, sorry, my network has been bad, so it has been bouncing me in and out, but the first question I have here is from Anthony Okadi. What are some investment opportunities available to lawyers? So there was no address to a specific speaker, So
I think
please,
our keynote speaker will take that because she spoke about
Okay.
investment. Yes.
okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you for that question, Anthony. So there are various investment opportunities that are there. We have, apart from the basic ones that you can easily get access to in the banks, in terms of special savings account, fixed deposits, bonds, bonds in terms of, it could also be in foreign currency. There are euro bonds you could invest in through the bank. There's treasury bills that you can invest in. Treasury bill is like investing in government, and they said it's most secured. So, and right now the interest rates for treasury bills, it's actually very impressive. So you could do that. You could do fixed deposits. The only problem with treasury bill is that you are investing your money directly with the government, and in that case you cannot say, please, government, I have some urgency, I want to quickly do something. In that case, you can't break it. You would rather take maybe a facility to at the back of it. So the bank will secure it with that your treasury bill and give you a loan, to meet that urgency. So if you're investing in such things, you must understand the monies that are not available for you, or you can actually do without them for a specific number of time. You are clear that there cannot be any emergency. There is not I need this quick. No. So fixed deposits, of course, if you put fixed deposits in the bank, the interest rates are also attractive right now. You could go to the bank to say, oh, I have an emergency, I want to break it. But that will come with a penalty. So probably you lose part of the interest, or they pre-liquidate at some discounted rate to give you the money available to you. Of course, stocks are shares. And the way shares work is like you are owning part of that organization that you are buying their stock. So for instance, Access Bank is selling right now. If you invest in it, that means you're saying, I want to be part of the ownership of the bank. And so each time the bank declares profit, the shareholders will agree, okay, we are not investing in anything. We've made this so much. Let's share 60% of it, or let's share everything. We are not investing, so it's our money, let's share. And that's what comes to you as an investor as dividend. And based on the number of shares that you own, you get something. In Access Bank, they pay twice now. We pay interim, and then we pay full final at the end of maybe financial year after AGM is held. Those are very interesting investment opportunities. And outside of that, there can be very low. Some of these are long-term too, like the real estate I talked about. Real estate is a good investment, and people say you can't go wrong with it. What makes you go wrong with real estate is either you buy a property that does not have a good title, you did not check, do the verification properly. But as lawyers, who we are, I'm sure that cannot be a challenge. So you can invest. If it is a lot, you can collaborate with your friends or partners or colleagues, and then you do it together. And of course, the long-term value is there. Mutual funds is also a good one, more like you're pulling funds together in a big pool. And because it's bigger, it has a controlling power to attract a bigger interest. So for instance, I have 5 million, you have 5 million, she has 5 million. My 5 million, I can go to the bank and the bank say, no, 5 million is small. I'll give you 10%, for instance. So they will give us 10%. But probably if we pull it together, we say this is 15 million, we go. We probably will get 12%. And that 12% is on the 15 million. So it means each of us that put 5 million are now getting 12% instead of 10. So it's a mutual fund. So those are these are different investment opportunities, but obviously the more you try to learn of them, you see more opportunities. But these are various ones that you can invest in. I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Yeah, please continue.
Sorry?
No, I was asking the person who is coordinating Q&A, but
Okay.
maybe her network is having issues. So let me just take over from there. Thank you for that very detailed answer. I can see a question here from Merit Divine. What are the steps I need to take in order to get shares in Access Bank? I think she just explained.
Okay, you know what? I can see about 3 questions relating to that on the chat group. Would you permit me to just quickly attend
Yes,
them?
please. Yes.
Okay,
please.
so somebody said, what are the steps I need to take in order to get shares in Access Bank? So if you want to buy in the current one ongoing, you could private chat me. I'll get someone to just help you with it. But basically, you can go through staff of Access Bank as it is today. Everybody's involved in this sale. You can go through a stockbroker if you want to go through that route. So those are avenues you can go through it. But if you private chat me, I can actually get someone to assist with that. Someone also said, I have Access shares. I have not received any dividend to date. How can you help resolve that? So there is an investors relations desk. There is also our registrar who you can reach out to. And of course, there is also a portal even on NGX for unclaimed dividend. If you chat your details there, it will come out. And of course, you can claim it through your stockbroker. You could reach out to your broker to say, okay, I don't have my, they'll take your share ID, shared TSCS, CHN number, and then they would write to the organization, the registrars of that share, and they would get all the dividend accrued back to you. And someone also said, I should expatiate on high interest deposit account. So high interest deposit account is a savings account. It's popularly called HIDA within our own space here. But the way it works is that they pay you interest. The interest is calculated on the daily balance that you keep. But if you withdraw more than 3 times in a month, you don't get any interest because they're actually trying to help you with that discipline to save. So if you so desire that it's a savings account, you shouldn't be taking from it like that often. And they pay you interest on it. So there are different bands to it. I think you can keep as little as 50,000 in it, but as high as 12.5% interest up to 250 million and above. So some people use it. So like I mentioned, if you say you want to go and buy treasury bills now, probably treasury bills will give you up to 18%. But with the restriction that you can't just wake up and say, CBN, please, I need it quickly. I saw one opportunity I want to take. No. But with this HIDA account, you can put that money in that account. You'll get, if it's, for instance, 250 and above, you can be getting up to 12.5% every month on it. And you can take from it quickly and put back. So far, you don't do that more than 3 times. You still get the interest that is due on that account. So you can walk into any Access Bank branch and ask that you want to open an HIDA account. That will be done for you. Asset protection is talking basically about insurance, securing that asset. So a lot of us, at least people that live in Lagos and maybe Lekki area, there was a threat of flooding not too long ago this year. I know my area too had a lot of water, and people were like, hey, this thing has happened before. Hey, this and that was why some people were emergency trying to get insurance. In case this water now floods everywhere, what will happen to my fridge, my furniture? Asset protection is an insurance. I can also send some documents out to the organizers to share with you for insurance so that we can begin to understand how these things work. Abroad, people don't, tsunami or anything that it is, they are not afraid because insurance, they will say insurance is the one that will chop the basics. So that's it. But here, small thing, we are panicking. And so we have to learn that culture as well to protect what it is that we have. I thought Access shares are only available to existing shareholders. Can non-shareholder buy? Yes, you can, but they will have to trade for you on NGX platform. So if that would help, if you reach out to a broker, they can also help you with that. It's a lot of. Okay. Support structures, various options. Okay. Someone is saying it would appreciate the support. Okay, I will take your number and someone will reach out to you. Ajobo, Atuluko. Someone will reach out to you on this. I'll take your details. All right, thank you. Someone said, how can she claim the shares of her mom, her late mom, and her children? So you probably need to get details, even if it's old share certificates that you can find, anything to be able to trace it. If you give it to a broker, they will seek them out. They are never lost, really. It's just the what it requires to follow it, to look for it. But if you can get any of your shares certificates, if you meet a broker, they would dematerialize it and help you to pursue it. But if your mom has an account already, maybe a CSCS account with a broker already, just engage the broker. They would claim it and straighten everything out for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I saw a hand up by one Madam Margaret. I don't know whether, okay, I think network took her out, so I'm just admitting her again now. So I don't know if any other person have any question, because we are wrapping it up here just very, very quickly. Margaret Oputa, you earlier on wanted to ask a question. I don't know if you still want to ask the question now before.
Yes, please.
Okay, please go ahead. Just make it brief.
Yes, please. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Actually, my question is still based on this share issue. We floated a company and we're thinking of where to invest. We thought about assets and rights issue. But I had an opportunity to ask a very senior banker the viability, because I know some of the shares I've had for some time, I've not gotten dividend. So I was asking him about the viability of buying these shares. He raised some concerns that made me put a hold on it. For instance, it was like almost all the banks currently are advertising their shares for sale. And it looks like CBN also limited the number of money that banks can take, that he is seeing that as an indication that the banking industry is not as stable as we will want to believe. So I wish the first speaker can address this issue specifically. Is it really, because right now, all of a sudden, we just started hearing that Heritage Bank just wound up with no notice. How healthy is our banking industry at the moment? And how will she, with this person, this specific person, say advise that we'll go ahead to buy these shares? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I would attempt to, because see, everything in life is a risk. Even the investments, if you don't put it in shares, if you put it in fixed deposit, it's still a risk. In fact, in Heritage, for instance, if you didn't buy their shares and your money is there, if it's above 5 million, Upcom will only pay you 5 million. That's the only thing that is guaranteed. The rest is to God be the glory. So everything in life is a risk. But I will tell you for a fact, and this is not because I work for Access Bank. I've been here for a bit of time and I understand the journey. So I can tell you. So the way it is, he said that a lot of banks are out selling shares. Yes, because there was a pronouncement by CBN saying that they want us to raise, to have a minimum share capital. So, and, you know, when that is not the first time that is happening and banks have to go to the market to raise it. So for instance, I can tell you that maybe bank were able to do business. I'll just be using hypothetical numbers so that, you know, just for us to be able to connect. For instance, let's say about 2 years ago, maybe dollar was 500 naira, for instance, and banks were probably trading, doing everything they were with 1 billion naira. They're giving loans and everything with that. Today, that same market where they are borrowing, they are lending 1 billion to, is probably needing ×5 because of some real economic situation, if you understand what I mean. The business that you are running before with probably 100,000 naira, you are probably going to be joining with 5 people now to buy the same quantity of things to sell. It's the same thing that is affecting the business. So the needs, the loan needs of the market has also increased, right? So it's just typical to say that if you have 1 billion you were trading with, giving loans to people, because that's the work of a financial institution anyway. Intermediate, take from excess, or give to the people that need loan. The need has tripled, or let me say times 5. And so the strength, the muscle for you to be able to continue to do that business and meet the need in the market has to be toughened. And CBN, which is the regulator now, is actually watching everything to say that, see, we cannot afford a breakdown in the banking industry again. So we don't want anybody that does not have the muscle to continue to stay there as a bank and say, oh yeah, the investor bring money, borrow a stake. It will get to a point that they can't do it, but they can't come out. So they are trying to strengthen the muscles of the banks to ensure that they are not also looking when they need to take an action. And that's why they did that. And so several banks have to go out there and raise more money. If you realize even what that publication said, there are different tier 1 bank, they were expected to have 500 trillion or something like that. I can't remember the numbers offhand, so I won't quote, but there were different categories of capital that was expected for each regional player, commercial bank, tier 1 bank, and all of that. So it depends. If you notice, all banks are not raising the same amount. It depends on the capacity, your categorization, to put it in perspective. So that is the reason why we are raising the funds. Access Bank, for instance, had actually projected it, because we don't actually jump at some of these things always. There is always a strategic planning. Futuristic, 5 years at the minimum. So we know what we want to do. And in line with that, these has already been in the offering. But when CBN said this, okay, so it's almost about the same time everybody's at it. But if the CBN, trust me, if anything happens to a big bank today in Nigeria, even Nigeria economy is going to be affected. So CBN will not allow it for any reason. They would ensure they gather, they gauge and, secure that industry. Is the largest employer of people even as of today in Nigeria. So if you want to invest, I cannot tell you otherwise today in the bank. I can tell you that banks will continue to exist. It's a going entity. It will sustain. The economy directly tied to it, and it will continue. This is well regulated, and it will continue to be like that, at least for a very long time, not even like in the near future. So if you want to invest, please go ahead and do so. I am investing, and as a woman, I will tell you to do exactly the same.
Thank you so much. I know there's so much to talk about, but we just have to round up now. Thank you. And I will quickly invite the deputy head of the fundraising committee of the MBA Women Forum to give us the vote of thanks, and appreciate particularly our speakers and also our attendees. We had a full house today, and at some point we had up to 100, which was our cap, and it was an interesting journey. Thank you. Mr. Ikwabo.
Yes, I don't know if you can see me. I can't see myself. I can't tell whether the camera is showing, although I try to, actually try to, what they call that stuff. I try to activate my video, but I don't know if you can see me. If you can't, please.
We can hear you. We can use your audio, but we can't see you. I was seeing your picture before, but I think there's something wrong with your screen.
Yes, I actually now started video, but then apparently it doesn't seem to be showing. So let me just play my picture.
Yes, just use your audio. Thank you.
All right. So thank you very much. I stand on all established protocol, and I want to thank our speakers. First of all, I want to thank all of you for attending this session. As we all agree, it's very insightful and it has been very illuminating, and we have all gained a lot from it. And then I now want to thank Mrs. Abiodun Olubito, the group head of the Women Banking Team at Access Bank. That's the W initiative. Madam, you have spoken so well. You have shed a lot of light on issues that pertain to women lawyers and indeed all lawyers as a whole. You've taught us so much about the importance and the need to learn new skills, to embrace capacity building, to explore legal technology, and also to explore consultation and consultancy. You also said, although you did say that we're adverse to technology, I don't agree with you there. Many of us women here, we use technology, even if it's for shopping. So I'm sure we can also expand our technology to other areas that will make wealth for us. And you told us, you expressed and emphasized the importance of client retention. And I mean, of course, that's very insightful bit about educating clients and engaging with them regularly. That was very, very useful as well. And last but not the least, you emphasize the importance of financial planning, prudent wealth management, and wealth protection, and then the investment in mutual funds and real estate. Thank you very much indeed. And your masterful answer to all the questions that were raised was a delight to watch and listen to. Thank you very much, madam. And of course, my learned friend, Olamide Obajimi, partner Olaniwun Ajayi, LP, you did know, you performed no less well. You spoke very authoritatively on financial issues, and you educated us as well on tax planning, on cross-selling. I learned that one today. I mean, I've known that if you join clubs and all that, you meet different professionals, but I heard the term cross-selling and the practical application of that expression. Thank you very much indeed. But I'm never too old to learn, and that became very clear today because I took away a lot. You also emphasized the importance of diversification and also the advisability of moving into new practice areas. The retainer fee arrangement is also something that you encourage, and then something that you actually emphasize, which many of us do not really, particularly younger lawyers, have noticed it. They forget to send invoices, and that is key to actually expanding our wealth base. Because if you do all the work and you don't send money and you don't send the bills and follow up on the invoices, I mean, you just have sat down twiddling your thumbs. So thank you very much to Mr. Obajimi and to the participants, to the speakers, to everybody who listened and asked questions. Thank you very much. Without you, this would have been a flop. We thank you also we also thank our chairperson, Chinyere Okorocha, who is always available to lend her support. And she gave us a very interesting welcome speech. So on this note, I want to thank you all, and I want you to please clap for yourselves. Just love yourselves in the chat box, and then we look forward to you joining us again as the MBAWF continues to put together more programs that will enable us, empower the female lawyer for success. I know that there are some men here as well too, so the men too will also be empowered for success. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Thank you, and thank you. Thank you once again. So it's a wrap, and for all female lawyers here who are not members of the MBA Women Forum, please, we would like to have you during the MBA conference. I saw a question here asking whether MBAWF will have a stand. We surely have a stand, and we are preparing very well for you, and we'll invite you to our annual general meeting as well to come and learn how we have fared for the past 1 year and also join our activities. It's really an interesting group, for networking and for collaboration, as I've been said here. So I thank my team, the fundraising committee, Ms. Ikwawo Iyabawa, for your support, and also for the entire executive team led by Mrs. Okorocha. Thank you for all your support, and thank you everyone for making this a huge success. Bye for now. And for those who may want to watch a recap, this particular session was live streamed on YouTube. So search for MBA Women Forum on YouTube. You see our channel there. Subscribe to the channel and watch the video and other enlightening sessions that we have had in the past. Thank you once again. And I'm glad that you honored our invitation. So we'll draw the curtain here.